Educate, inform, inspire. The Dan Parsons Show, a podcast that lifts up instead of tearing down.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Dan Parsons Show. I am your host, Dan Parsons. However you get your podcasts, whether you listen on Apple or Spotify, or you watch the video on YouTube, we really appreciate our loyal listeners and viewers. And just a reminder, follow us on your favorite social media platforms. And if you're a friend of Dan on Patreon, you'll get some special VIP treatments from time to time. And you help support the show. Just go to thedanparsonsshow.com to sign up. More about some perks coming up on today's show. Well, I don't think I have to tell you that if you're like me, we're all kind of sick and tired of winter, right? And so I am thrilled to welcome back the Friday Afternoon Club. If you were a fan of the radio show, you know every Friday, Chef Kevin Shinn and I sat down with guests and just had a blast. So we're bringing back that concept here to the podcast. So, Chef, welcome back, my friend.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. We're not all together. That's a little different, but we're still imbibing. It is we're celebrating Friday, and so we're going to do this periodically. We'll try it maybe anyway. We'll see how it goes. But I know there's huge fans to the Friday Afternoon Club. So, Chef, welcome back. And let me introduce our special guest, Mr. Cody Schmick, managing partner for Kinkaider Brewing. Cody, welcome, my man.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Yeah.
Good to see
look at you. You're in the beer house. I can see. I can see those taps behind you.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's get started. Chef, as our tradition always was, what are we drinking?
Well, it's cold, so we need something hot. Right? So I've got in my little white mug here, I got a version of a sour. But to make it a little interesting, I love liqueurs, and I found this one in replacement for chartreuse, which the monks kind of slowed down their production after COVID, and nobody can get chartreuse, but everybody loves a Corpse Reviver or the equivalent. And so what I have put together is basically it's a whiskey sour, but it's bolstered with Fontbonne herbal liqueur and a little bit of absinthe in honor of Moulin Rouge this week.
That's right.
Greek Ferry.
That's
so
right.
If you'd like that little black licorice flavor and aroma, the steam off of the hot cocktail kind of helps clear the nose and warm the heart.
That sounds perfect. Well,
I'll leave you a recipe for that.
Yes. And for our friends of Dan, there's your first perk of the day. If you're a friend of Dan, you'll get that recipe through your Patreon membership. So we'll do that. Well, speaking of whiskey, Cody, you've got a new whiskey coming out, right?
Yeah, actually, yesterday, Thursday, we actually released our two new things. Our beer house, the Goat Bock Lager. This is it's Bock season. A lot of people don't even know, what is a Bock. They've heard of like Amber Bock, whatever, but this is a traditional German style beer. It's a little bit darker. It's got some really nice, just kind of roasty, toasty notes to it. But the whole thing with Bock is being able to poke a hot iron into it. And that's we'll talk about that a little bit later on, when we talk about BockFest, and what that's all about. But then the other one is Sideshow. This is our newest single barrel release. It's called the Savage, Savidge. It's got a fun story behind it, but this is a straight bourbon whiskey finished in beer casks. So we basically took a whiskey that had been laying in a new American oak barrel for about 2.5, 3 years. And then we transferred it to a barrel that had just got done aging a high gravity Russian Imperial Stout beer. And so then we go in there. It's almost kind of a reverse. So it's a beer. You've heard of a lot of whiskey barrel aged beers. This is a beer barrel aged whiskey, or finished whiskey, I think is how you'd put it. So those two products just came out. They're available at all of our locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Chef, any experiences? What's some of your experiences with aged beer, barrel aged beers? Anything off the top of your head that comes to mind?
Since our friend Cody's here, I'll prop up the Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
Your vodka that was barrel aged. It was. I was in a bar in Omaha. Actually, it was in Havana Garage maybe a year or two ago, and there was a rep that came by and had a bottle of your Elliott. I said, "Oh, I love that," and so I started talking to the rep and knew more about your whiskey than your rep did. So I don't know. If
We've
that's
done
a good
some stuff. We've done some stuff together, though, Kev. We've done some stuff together. So
yeah. So then there were some guys. There's some people around. I said, "Oh, dude, you got to try this, man. It's like sipping a whiskey, but I won't tell you what it is." But the caramel notes and the smoke from the barrel. I love that product that you have, and I serve it regularly.
Thanks, man. The smoke in that comes out like crazy too, and I would think smoking a cigar with it that'd be a good one.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, Cody, maybe for our listeners who aren't familiar with you, and you were on the radio show several times, and we go back many years here. Maybe just give kind of the 411 on the origins of Kinkaider Brewing in the Sandhills, and now all the great locations that you have, and talk about what you're doing here in Lincoln.
Back in no, I'm just joking. I'm not going to go that far. But we started Kinkaider in 2014. We just celebrated a 10-year anniversary. Kinkaider has locations in Broken Bow, Lincoln, and Omaha, and we're actually building a new location in Kearney. And then we split off two other brands. Sideshow Spirits, which is Lincoln's first ever legal distillery. You got to make that distinction. There has been some illegal distilleries in Lincoln over the years, but we are the first ever, if you can believe it, in the state capital of Nebraska. We're the first ever legal distillery. And then we started our beer house, Maisschiller, which is where this product comes from, and that's where I'm sitting at right now. This is our German beer house, actually housed in the same building where Dan's studio is. So we get to see him, give each other a high five every day. And then we have just been expanded. We doubled the size of this room because we were just full all the time. And then we added the rooftop onto it. And we got some other plans for this building. So it's been a fantastic add to our family of brands, if you will.
Yeah, well, and I say this all the time. Kevin and I just had this conversation the other day of how you are so committed to building community. And this building is a great example of that. So on the corner of, I'm a terrible person to give direction, 8th and P, on a corner of 8th and P, and the beer house used to be a coffee shop, and my goodness, what an improvement. And so, and then, right out my window is the rooftop that you opened last spring. And so, and then we'll talk about what's a project you got going on, an event you got going on in the basement of this building. So you have, any given day, and you're right. My office is up here on the 5th floor. You're on the 1st floor. And when I walk in and out of this building after hours, I don't care if it's a Tuesday or a Friday. People are packed into the beer house. It's so great to see from all over the city, all over the state.
You can't throw a rock without hitting somebody that has a little bit of German or Czech in them, and around here, and it does seem like that definitely has struck a chord with a lot of folks. Last night, the snow hit, and what I thought people were wanting to tuck into the house, and we had trivia night last night. We just started it here at the beer house, and so I text the two kids that are running trivia for me, and I said, "What do you guys think? Should we do this? Should we not do this?" They're like, "We want to do it." They sent me a video. Every seat in this place was packed last night, while other places were like, we're throwing in the towel today. Nobody's coming out. So it does have a certain warmth. And like you said, Dan, the community piece of it has been huge. People really feel at home in this place, and of all walks of life, and we're really proud of what we put together here.
Yeah. Well, Chef, you're known for your emphasis on hospitality. I mean, that's what you've grown your business to emphasize. And we've talked about this before of people from all over this state who come to Cody's establishments, and it feels familiar to them, right, Chef?
Yeah, definitely. And Cody, I've accused you of having the Midas touch, I think. But you somehow have the finger on the pulse of our community, but also on the sense of your community. You're ever since I started doing events with you and collaborating with some of your staff, I thought, man, I love working alongside you guys. And you seem to put the right things into place and kind of get out of their way and let them do their job. And that's to be commended.
Thanks, Chef. That means a lot coming from you. I know you've seen every ins and outs of this industry, and there's some black and white in this industry, but there's definitely some gray, and I know you've seen everything. So I appreciate that, dude.
Speaking of snow, when I had the restaurant downtown, my staff would, kind of get nervous. It's going to snow. Are we going to close early? I says, no, we're not going to close early because we're going to have a full house. And sure enough, you get people from the hotels, on a Tuesday night, it's just blizzard outside and we're packed because people don't.
You got to remind these kids there's no school days in the real world, kids. There's no school days. No. I'm sorry. No. Snow days, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back after this message. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty tired of this winter. So grab your cozy sweater and come to BockFest in the Haymarket, Saturday, February 22nd, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the street in front of the beer house at the corner of 8th and P Streets in the Haymarket in beautiful Lincoln, Nebraska. Featuring polka bands, games, sausages and pretzels, and plenty of great beer. Join us for good times and great company. For tickets, go to beerhauseusne.com. That's BIERHAUSNE.com. Or just find us on Facebook. I'll see you there Saturday, February 22nd, BockFest 2025. Hey, speaking of BockFest, Cody, let's dig in a little bit about what you got coming up. There it is, February 22, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. as we just said.
Is it going to be 85 degrees again, Cody?
I think what I'm doing in my prayers, I'm asking for the 40s as well. I don't want to get too greedy on this. It's still February, so. I've been looking. I usually tell my staff, do not tell me the forecast. I don't want to know when we're doing an outdoor event in February. But last year was our second BockFest. This will be our third. Let me take that back. No, this will be our second BockFest. Last year we had a day where, I think it was in the 50 mid 50s.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
It was absolutely gorgeous. And, when there's half a foot of snow on the ground, it's kind of hard to think about an outdoor event. But I just got to share this with you guys. So if you look at that 10-day forecast that just came out today, we're sitting 38. At 38 degrees on that Saturday right now. So I'm very hopeful. Almost, 4 days before that, it's 1 degree. So, well, you know what? We're gonna look at it next week. But we really, at the end of the day, we encourage people. This is a outdoor winter event. Put on a bit. I mean, I have a big fur coat that I throw on for this thing. Throw on some mittens, throw on some hats. Put on your Carhartts. Put on your overalls. This is probably not something you're going to wear dirndl and lederhosen to in the winter. You're welcome to as well. The hardcore ones, the real ones,
Yes,
the real ones are.
Damn right.
But this
Damn
is,
right.
think about this as kind of our halfway to Oktoberfest celebration, right? We're going to close the street. It's not quite as big as Oktoberfest. We get about half the people from Oktoberfest, but we're going to have little heaters and fire pit. Every heater we own is going to be out there, little fire pits. And guess what? We picked that time from 11 to 6. That sun's going to be right up over top of us, and it's going to be a great day to have a beer outside in downtown Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah.
11 to 6. Get your tickets. Tickets are only $10, and that actually, if you pre-buy them, you get a free beer token at the door when you check in. If you don't pre-buy them and you buy day of, you miss out on that free beer. That's the only difference. $10 still. Pre-buy or day of, you just get a free beer if you pre-buy. So I encourage everybody go to our website. I think Dan's going to have some of those links, but it's Beer Haus spelled the German way, N-E like Nebraska, beerhausne.com. Scroll down and you can find all of the information on BockFest, February 22nd, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. The party's not going to end at 6 p.m. We're just going to end on the street and move the party indoors at 6 p.m.
There you go.
Once that sun goes down in February, we may be fighting it. So
yeah, that's fun. And there'll be food and obviously beer and games and it's so much fun.
It's a blast.
So
this year
fun.
We've got let's see, I think we've got the Polka Police, which if you've never seen the Polka Police, it's these two brothers. They dress up in. Did you guys ever watch Reno 911? Did you ever watch that show?
It's my favorite.
So Officer Dangle with the short. He's got the uniform with the shorts. That's what these guys do. They both dress up like. I don't know if they will in the wintertime or not, but then they do like huge songs, like Journey, songs in polka fashion. It's so great. It's so much fun. And then Barry Boyce is going to close out the day. Barry is renowned around here, just very well known in the polka circles. I call him the polka king of the Midwest, and he does a great job at throwing a great show.
And again, that tradition, that community you're building, Cody, I mean, it just reminds us of the heritage. I mean, I grew up here in Nebraska. I remember my folks going dancing out in Malcolm, because I grew up in and around Lincoln, and to polka music. I mean, again, that German Czech heritage, I mean, it's in our blood.
When I first moved here in 1990, we would go to Colon. There was a Starlight Ballroom in Colon, Nebraska. That's tragic name, I guess, for that small town. Sorry if you're from there. But there was a little ballroom called the Starlight Ballroom, and they had polka like every weekend. And me and my wife and handful of young students, we'd go up there and of course we were the youngest there by 30, 40 years. So they were so excited to see young people doing their dancing. So Cody, I do have to ask, and I don't know if this is the right term, and Dan, you can bleep this out.
Oh, there's no limits here. So this isn't AM radio anymore.
Radio.
Poking the dunkel.
Oh, we got to talk about poking the dunkel.
The Bock, yes.
Did I say that right? Is it?
Nope.
Is it poking the dunkel?
It's the Bock beer, not the dunkel. You can poke a dunkel as well, a different style of beer. So this is all around this. So let me read you the description here.
Okay. Just a warning. I'm sorry, Cody, interrupted. Just a warning to our guests: if you're Googling poking the dunkel, I'm not responsible for anything you get back. Anyway, go ahead.
So it's a dark malt forward and strong. Warm up your winter nights with caramel and marshmallow notes. And people go, marshmallow notes, where's that coming from? So what happens? You take this hot iron and you pour your beer about 2/3 full, and then you take it over to one of our professional pokers, and they stick that hot iron in the beer. They stick that hot iron in the beer, and it actually caramelizes the sugars within the beer, and it gives you this kind of marshmallow fluff on the top of your beer. It's smoky, it's sweet, it's delicious. It renders that beer. We've experimented with other beers as well on that. The Bock seems to poke the best. and there's a tradition around it. So we will have a couple fire pits right out there by the bar. You buy your first beer, go over, and they're going to poke that beer. It's a lot of fun, and people just get such a kick out of it.
It's
Professional pokers,
Yes.
by the way.
only the
Professional pokers.
Don't leave this to the amateurs. Yeah.
We've had a few amateur pokers over the years, guys. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Wouldn't recommend. Chef, what do you have for food to talk about today? What's cooking?
Well, I got I've got my Valentine's weekend coming up. Cody and I have done Valentine's Day dinners together at
Dates
the
together?
show.
You and Cody? Are we breaking news
Yeah.
here on the Dan
We've spent a
Parsons
lot
show?
of Valentine's Day together. Yes.
No, I think that was one of the first events we did together with your
yeah.
team. It was really, really successful, and now my little bit has become successful, and so the demand for portico events has increased. So I've got some very exclusive private events this weekend for Valentine's Day. It's just unusual to be able to give such attention to detail for such a small group of people. Things I could have never done in the restaurant business that I'm able to do now. And that's really, really focus on intimacy in dining. And so we've got an 8-course Valentine's menu experience. And this time with wine pairings and cocktail pairings, and plenty of time to digest and slow down. And
Nice.
I'm also doing bread classes this winter, and that's been a fun addition. I used to teach bread classes in the restaurant for years.
Great event.
Great event. I don't know why it took so long to figure this out, but so I'll come to your house for a group of up to 6 people, and I'll show you exactly how we make our bread in the portico, and then we bake it there in your house, and we cut it and enjoy it, and
maybe some wine
a
involved.
little bit of wine and some of Cody's Savage whiskey.
Yeah.
I got to brag on Chef for a second. We did that first event, and I'll be honest with you, I've worked with a lot of chefs over the years, and my perception of chefs, I will say Chef Kevin did change my perception of chefs a little bit. Because, when you're serving a meal that's $100 to $150 a person, right? Like, you want to make sure you knock it out of the park, right? Mm-hmm. My dad slammed in my head, if I'm going to take somebody's money, I have to show them the value. Mm-hmm. And, you think about a guy that's like Chef that's got, the accolades that he has. I'm thinking he's going to come in here and we better have our shit together. He is the most kind, gentle, easy leader, and he inspires his people rather than screaming and yelling and throwing pots and pans, because that really did skew my perception a little bit of what a chef is. And then I work with Chef Kevin, and it's not like that. It's not chaos. It's not. There's a lot of order. There's a lot of. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm stressing because we're about ready to feed 100 people that we charge this high ticket price, and Chef's just got it, man. And it was really cool. I'm gonna keep bugging you, Chef. I know Portico has taken off, and I'm so happy for you. But you picked the date, brother, and we'll throw another event. Yeah, so
well, and to say thank you on that, because I remember distinctly that first event. It was about 30 minutes to showtime, and me and Josh and some of your other staff drinking your beer, and you came in, you look like, what? And we're going on, and I know in 30 minutes we're ready.
Yeah. Went off without a hitch.
The look on your face, and then and then we delivered and executed.
Yeah.
So thank you for trusting me to do that.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hey, let's take this quick little break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Comedy is back in Lincoln. Introducing Howler Haus Comedy Club in the Haymarket. Friday, February 28th. 2 shows at 6:30 and 9 p.m. 4 comedians, including Heath Cordes and Layla Ingalls, regulars on the world-famous Kill Tony show. located underneath Beer House at 151 North 8th Street in the Haymarket. Grab your tickets quick because this show will sell out. Go to beerhouseusne.com. That's BIERHAUSNE.com. Or just find us on Facebook. I'll see you there Friday, February 28th. Okay, my goodness. Comedy has returned to Lincoln. I'm such a fan. Those of you who know me, my son Grant helped start Zularius back in the day. And so comedy is back in Lincoln. Cody's got 2 shows coming up on February 28th, as the spot just said. Cody, this is a pretty big deal. I mean, again, I'm familiar enough with comedy to know that you don't get this level of comedians coming through Lincoln every day. So,
we kind of landed on this thing. So a buddy of mine up in Norfolk, Nebraska, and a shout out to Norfolk, man, they are doing some really, really cool things. If you have not been to Norfolk in 5 years, whatever, go check it out. Spend a weekend down there. I know it sounds crazy, like a weekend in Norfolk.
Oh,
what the heck?
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Just to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
My buddy Josh Moaning, who until just recently was the mayor of Norfolk.
Yeah, Josh is great.
Was responsible for a lot of that. And he was telling me about this comedy show that you're partnering with the guy from Norfolk and bringing here to Lincoln. So keep going.
Yeah, so you bet. So my buddy Andrew opened this place called District Tap and Table. It's just a great little kind of community place. It actually has kind of the same vibes as Beer House, but it's where people go and hang out, right, in Norfolk. But you go down there, and on that strip of Norfolk, I mean, there's 10, 12, 15 bars, restaurants. They're all popping. They are all busy. You go down there on a Thursday night, and it's like it feels more busy than the Haymarket does sometimes. And so this is in Norfolk. So they built this thing. Andrew started doing comedy shows, and he is bringing in some pretty big names. SNL, like Tim Meadows from SNL. I watched him in Norfolk, Nebraska. Wow. Jeff Dye. Just some like national names that are huge in the comedy scene. And so I reached out to him and I said, listen, Lincoln is doing some comedy shows. I'm not saying they don't have any because there's been some good ones here, but how can we get comedy back in the Haymarket? So partner with Speedway. It's actually going to be in the basement of our building here where Beer House is. There's a great space down there right in the basement of this. So you'd come to Beer House when you check in. And you'll go like you're going up to the rooftop, but you're going to take the elevator down to the basement. And these are all ticketed shows. We have 2 that day, one at 6:30 p.m. and one at 9 p.m. As of this morning, I think the 9 p.m. is one's getting dangerously close to sell out. The 6:30 p.m. one, we still have some tickets available. This is going to be a 90-minute show. You're going to have 4 comedians. So who these comedians are is there's a podcast in Austin, Texas that's just taken comedy by storm. It's called Kill Tony, and these are 2 regulars off of that show. This is the biggest comedy podcast in the world, and these 2 guys are well-known names on it. Layla Ingalls, Heath Cordes. And then we got Will C. And then my friend Joel. He's a local guy, Joel Henson. Joel has been doing comedy since he was younger. He is really excited to come in. Joel will be the MC of the show. He'll be the familiar face at every show, and he'll do 5 to 10 minutes of comedy every show as well. We're really trying to do this in a way that the big comedy clubs do, that we want to respect what the art of comedy is. And so we're studying other clubs. We're talking to people. We're talking to these groups that do this, and we're gonna bring it to Lincoln. So our goal in 2025 is to bring 12 shows to Lincoln, and these will be all kind of celebrity based shows with some good local opening acts. And if we can sell out or get close to sell out those 12. Then our team is going to lean into this even more for 2026 and hopefully get a bunch of people. So like Daryl Hammond off SNL, he's an old SNL name. Everybody, I'm negotiating with his agent right now to get him here, and do a SNL Sunday with Daryl Hammond, So things like that, and it's gonna be so much fun. Get your tickets. This is the first show of what I'm hoping will be many. It's selling really, really well. And so I'm seeing that people are interested in comedy. And if Norfolk can sell out 4 shows 2 nights in a row in Norfolk, Nebraska, Lincoln should be able to sell out a couple days too. So we're building with that.
Absolutely.
We're negotiating these deals with the Norfolk crew to be able to bring these comedians in for 4 days instead of 2. And it's going to be really cool. And I hope you guys take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will continue to plug that. And Cody, I'm just so thankful for what you're doing in this community. And so keep it going, my friend.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Chef, do you have a word for us today?
I do. Shameless plug for my new book.
Absolutely.
Called A Different Metaphor. Just came out about 3 weeks ago. And it's a book of faith. Part of my story of how I rediscovered faith by leaving the ministry. Mm-hmm. Typically, that's not the direction, but I describe my journey as having to leave the ministry to find my faith again. And so this is a part of that process of how did I make that decision and what did I discover? And so can I read a little?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
From chapter 7 titled Faith That Doesn't Need Defending. Love the good love. Some of us don't need a new faith. We are convinced there is someone greater than ourselves. We feel it in our bones. We've sensed the nearness of the advocate. We see the night sky. We feel the heat of the sun. We are in awe of the detail of a fragrant rose situated among a stem of thorns. We feel the crush of the ocean waves and revel in our smallness as we stand on top of a mountain. These details in every place we look seem to be the very fingerprints of an everlasting creator we long to know. Our frustration stems from the small, limited language we were given that never seemed to be a dialect that could adequately communicate the beauty that has captured our hearts. No, we didn't need a new faith. We just needed a different metaphor. And so that, I feel
Kev.
like, even though that's chapter 7, I feel like that summarizes the essence of what I understand faith to be. And now as this book floats out into the world, the response of, yes, why does that resonate with me? I don't understand. Why does that resonate with me? And I think it's because faith is about the impossible. Faith is about, creating and it's not about limitations and what you can't do and what you can't say. And so that constriction ultimately limits faith. It doesn't encourage it or prosper it. And so when I realized I needed a different metaphor, much like a pot or a house plant becomes root bound, and it won't grow past that pot, and it's got to be taken out. It's got to be refreshed and put into a bigger pot. And that's what I feel like I hope this book will do, is encourage people who they have a sense of faith, but they haven't given up on their faith, but they just have given up on the establishment and whatever they call it. And they realize, there's got to be more. And that's what I try to encourage in my book.
Well, thanks, Chef. And
awesome.
Obviously we've known each other a long time, and I know about your journey, but this book is catching on. I mean, you've been doing book talks and book signings the last few weeks here in Lincoln, and I know you have plans to take it beyond Lincoln, and this story. And again, so many people know you in this community from the work that you've done in restaurants and hospitality, but not too many people know, other than your closest friends, before this book came out, of your history as being a collegiate pastor before you got into became a chef. And so it's a beautiful story. And so remind our listeners and viewers where they can find the book and where they can purchase it.
Yeah, really easy. You can go to a differentmetaphor.com. That will take you to my online shop, and you can purchase a copy there. I'll sign it for you if you'd like. Or if you want it right now, you can go to Francie and Finch Bookshop downtown at 13th and O in Lincoln, and she's got a bunch of copies down there that you can grab. You can grab one right now.
Keep it local. That's
Yep.
great. Well, Cody, Kevin, Chef Kevin, thanks so much. The Friday Afternoon Club is back, kids. We're going to keep doing this. Chef, I appreciate you coming along for this ride. And Cody, my man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, thanks to Panology Tech Solutions for the technical help and equipment. Kim Remington, Parsons Public Relations Director of Operations, and the newly minted producer of the Friday Afternoon Club, Ike Somanis. Excuse me, almost messed up your name, Ike. And most importantly, thanks to each of you for listening. As we continue to grow and expand our audience, thanks for sharing this episode on your social media channels. Hey, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now go do good things. I'm Dan Parsons.